Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Defiant, watching the stars through the main window. He had been in space for 15 years, but today felt different. The communications officer, Lieutenant Amy Carter, looked up from her, stationed with worry in her eyes. "Captain, we're getting strange readings from the outer system," she said. "Something big is coming." Jake walked over to her station. The screens showed dots moving toward Earth. These dots were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. The largest one was the size of a small moon. "How many ships?" Jake asked. 12 large vessels, sir. "Maybe more behind them," Amy replied. "They're not like anything in our database." Jake felt his stomach drop. For 50 years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was coming right at them. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them we have visitors." Admiral Zethkara stood in the command center of the Imperial flagship Dominator. Her blue skin gleamed under the bright lights, and her 4 eyes studied the small planet ahead. Earth looked like so many other worlds she had conquered over the years. "General Vextal, what do you see?" she asked her ground commander. The tall alien warrior looked at his reports. "A primitive world, Admiral. They have some basic space travel, but their weapons are simple. This should be easy." Zethkara nodded. In 12,000 years, the Galactic Empire had taken over most of the galaxy. Some species joined willingly. Others fought and lost quickly. She expected this world to be the same. "Begin standard contact procedures," she ordered. Back on the Defiant, Jake watched as more human ships arrived. The fleet was small compared to the alien vessels. Earth had only 23 warships, and even together, they looked tiny next to. The alien mothership's dot commander, Lisa Brooks, appeared on the main screen from the UES Guardian. "Jake, what are we looking at?" "First contact," Jake said simply. "And they brought a lot of friends." Dr. Ben Phillips, Earth's top scientist, was also on the call. "The energy readings are incredible. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." "Maybe. They're friendly," Lisa said, but her voice showed she didn't believe it. Jake looked at the alien fleet. Each ship bristled with weapons. "I don't think so." The communication system crackled to life. Amy worked quickly to clean up the signal. Soon, a voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded cold and mechanical. "Primitive species of this third planet. I am General Vextal of the Galactic Empire. You will prepare for integration into our empire. Resistance will result in your destruction." The bridge went quiet. Jake felt every eye on him. Through the window, he could see the alien ships getting closer. Earth looked small and helpless. Behind them, "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Fleet," he said into the communicator. "We're listening." "Your compliance is required," the alien voice continued. "You have 1 solar cycle to surrender your government and military forces. Your species will be relocated to appropriate worlds within the Empire. Your planet will be converted for Imperial use." Amy looked at Jake with wide eyes. "Sir, they're talking about taking over Earth completely." Jake nodded. He had heard enough. "General Vextal, I have a message for your admiral." "Speak," the alien replied. Jake thought about his wife back on Earth. He thought about his daughter, who was just starting college. He thought about every human who had ever lived, worked, and dreamed on that blue planet behind him. "Run," he said simply. The communication channel went silent. On the alien flagship, General Vextal looked confused. He turned to Admiral Zethkara. The human said, "Run, Admiral." "I do not understand." Zethkarai's 4 eyes narrowed. "They are trying to intimidate us." "How amusing. Should we begin the attack?" Vextal asked. "Not yet," Zethkara replied. "Let them think about what they face." Fear will make them surrender faster. Back on the Defiant, Jake turned to his crew. Amy, send a message to all Earth forces. Tell them to prepare for battle. Sir, we can't win against those ships, his weapons. Officer said. Maybe not, Jake replied. But we can make them remember us. Dr. Phillips spoke up from the communication screen. Jake, I've been studying their transmissions. Their language has words for surrender, retreat, and submission. But I can't find a word for never give up. Jake smiled grimly. Then they're about to learn a new word. The alien fleet moved closer to Earth. Their ships were beautiful in a terrible way, sleek and deadly. Each one could destroy a human city with ease. The humans had plasma guns and nuclear missiles. The aliens had weapons that could crack planets. But Jake had seen something in the alien commander's voice. Surprise. The general had expected fear or anger or desperate bargaining. Instead, he got a simple warning. Amy, open a channel to all human ships, Jake ordered. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Morrison to all Earth forces. They came here thinking we were weak. They thought we would beg or surrender. They were wrong. Jake looked out at the alien fleet, then back at his crew. We gave them fair warning. Now let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. The alien ships continued their approach, confident in their power. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and thousands of species. They had never met a species that warned them to run. They were about to learn why humans were different. As the two fleets moved closer, space itself seemed to hold its breath. On one side, the mighty Galactic Empire with its ancient power and advanced technology. On the other, a small blue planet with creatures who had never learned to quit. The first contact between humanity and the galaxy was about to begin. Admiral Zethkara watched the small human fleet with amusement. In all her years of conquest, she had never seen such a tiny force try to face the Imperial Navy. The human ships looked like toys compared to her massive vessels. General Vex Tal, show these humans what happens when they threaten the Empire, she ordered. The general's weapon systems officer, a six-armed creature from the Nexus worlds, worked at his controls. Target selected, General. Their moon. Fire, Vextal commanded. A beam of pure energy shot from the flagship. It was a planet cracker weapon, designed to destroy worlds that refused to surrender. The beam hit Earth's moon and carved a massive crater across its surface. Chunks of rock flew into space, glowing like small suns. On Earth, billions of people watched in horror as their moon was scarred forever. The message was clear: surrender or face the same fate. Admiral Zethkara expected panic. She expected the humans to beg for mercy. Instead, something else happened. Every human ship in the fleet began moving at once. Not away from the aliens, but toward them. What are they doing? Vextal asked, confused. Commander Lisa Brooks was coordinating the evacuation of Earth's orbital stations. Her ship, the UES Guardian, moved between the alien fleet and the space. Stations where thousands of humans worked and lived. All civilian ships. This is Guardian. Get those people out of there now, she ordered. The space stations were huge structures that had taken decades to build. They were humanity's greatest achievement in space. But Lisa knew they would be the first targets in any attack. Guardian, this is Station Alpha, came a voice over the radio. We need more time. We still have 5,000 people aboard. You have 10 minutes, Lisa replied. Then we start shooting. She turned to her weapons officer. Prepare all nuclear missiles. Target the lead alien ship. Commander, those missiles won't even scratch their shields, the officer said. Then we'll use more missiles. Lisa replied simply. Dr. Ben Phillips was frantically working in his lab on Earth. He had been studying the alien transmissions. trying to understand their language and culture. What he found worried him. "Amy, patch me through to the alien fleet," he said to Lieutenant Carter. "Dr. Phillips, I don't think they want to talk," Amy replied. "They need to understand what they're facing," Ben said. "Connect me." The communication channel opened. Dr. Phillips spoke directly to the alien commander. "General Vextal, this is Dr. Ben Phillips of Earth. I've been studying your language and your history. You need to listen to what I'm telling you. The time for talk is over, human," Vextal replied. "You don't understand us," Ben continued. "We're not like the other species you've conquered. We evolved differently. We're persistence hunters from a death world. When we say run, we mean it." Zethkara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Death world? Your planet is a garden compared to the worlds we've seen." "You're wrong," Ben said. "Earth has killed more species than any planet in the galaxy. We survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, and plagues. We didn't just survive them, we got stronger." "Enough of this," Vextal ordered. "Cut the transmission." But Ben's words had planted a seed of doubt. The aliens had never encountered a species that claimed to come from a death world. Most species from harsh planets were already extinct. Colonel Ryan Hayes led the first human attack. His ship, the UES Ranger, was one of Earth's newest vessels. It was fast and carried more weapons than any human ship before it. But compared to the alien dreadnoughts, it was still tiny. "All right, people," Ryan said to his crew. "We're going to do something the aliens have never seen before. We're going to ram their biggest ship." His crew looked at him in shock. "Sir, that's suicide," his first officer said. "Maybe," Ryan replied, "but we'll take a piece of them with us." The Ranger accelerated toward the alien flagship. Its nuclear engines glowed bright blue as it pushed past safe speeds. The aliens watched in confusion as the small human ship headed straight for them. "What is that ship doing?" Vextal asked. "It appears to be on a collision course," his officer replied. "They're bluffing. No species would sacrifice their ships for no reason." But Ryan wasn't bluffing. At the last second, he fired every weapon his ship had directly into the alien vessel's hull. Then the Ranger slammed into the flagship's weapon. A raise. The explosion was visible from Earth. The alien ship shuddered and lost power to several systems. The Ranger was destroyed, but it had done something no alien expected. It had hurt them. "Impossible," Zethkara whispered. "They actually did it." More human ships followed Ryan's example. Captain Beth Young in the UES Warrior loaded her ship with nuclear warheads and aimed for the alien formation. Commander Nick Torres modified his ship's engines to explode and took out an entire alien cruiser. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Every species they had conquered fought to stay alive. Humans seemed to fight to take their enemies with them. "Admiral," General Vextal said, "we're losing ships. The humans are using suicide attacks. How many ships have they lost?" Zethkara asked. "7 so far. But they've damaged 4 of our vessels and destroyed one." Zethkara couldn't believe it. The humans were trading their ships for alien vessels, and they seemed happy to do it. On Earth, President Jack Stevens watched the battle from the command center. His advisors were telling him to surrender, but Jack had a different idea. "Open a channel to all human forces," he ordered. "Channel open, Mr. President. This is your president speaking. I know you're scared. I know this looks hopeless. But I want you to remember something. We are human beings. We have never surrendered to anyone or anything. We didn't surrender to the Ice Age. We didn't surrender to the plague. We didn't surrender to wars or disasters or any other threat. We're not starting now." His voice grew stronger. "Fight for your families. Fight for your homes. Fight for the right to exist as free human beings. And if you have to die, make sure you take some of them with you. Back in space, the battle was getting worse for the aliens. They had expected easy conquest. Instead, they were facing an enemy that seemed to welcome death as long as it meant. Hurting their attackers, Captain Dan Foster led a group of smaller ships in hit-and-run attacks. They would fly close to the alien vessels, fire all their weapons, then retreat before the aliens could respond. It was dangerous, but it was working. "This is insane," Vextal said. "They're actually fighting us." "All species fight," Zethkara replied, "but they surrender when they realize they can't win." "These humans aren't surrendering, Admiral. They're getting more aggressive." Admiral Zethkara looked at the battle displays. The humans had lost half their fleet, but they were still attacking. Worse, they were learning. Each attack was more effective than the last. "Perhaps it's time to destroy their planet," she said. "That will end their resistance." But even as she said it, Zethkara knew something had changed. For the first time in her long career, she was facing an enemy that truly didn't know how to quit. The humans had kept their promise. They had warned the aliens to run. Now the Galactic Empire was beginning to understand why. The battle had been going on for 6 hours. Admiral Zethkara watched her displays with growing concern. The human fleet was down to 8 ships, but those 8 ships were still fighting like demons. General Vextal used the fear projectors. She ordered. "Admiral?" The general looked confused. "The psychological weapons. Every species breaks when they see their home cities destroyed. Show them what happens to those who resist the Empire." The alien ships began broadcasting images across all frequencies. Videos of conquered worlds, destroyed cities, and defeated armies filled human communication channels. The aliens had used this tactic for thousands of years. It always worked, Commander. Lisa Brooks saw the broadcasts on her ship's screens. Images of alien planets burning, populations being enslaved, and resistance movements being crushed. The aliens expected her to despair. Instead, Lisa felt something else, anger. "All human ships, this is Guardian," she said over the radio. "Did you see what they just showed us?" "We saw it," replied Captain Jake Morrison from the Defiant. "Good. Now you know what happens if we lose. Now you know what they'll do to Earth." The psychological warfare backfired completely. Instead of breaking human will, it made them fight harder. The aliens had just shown humanity exactly what they were. Fighting against Captain Beth Young's ship, the UES Warrior, was badly damaged, but still fighting. She had lost most of her crew, but her weapons still worked. "This is Warrior to all ships," she broadcast. "I'm making a run at their command ship. If I don't make it, tell my kids their mother died fighting." Beth pushed her engines to maximum power. The Warrior flew straight toward the alien flagship, dodging weapons fire and debris. At the last second, she fired everything she had. The explosion tore a hole in the alien ship's hull. The Warrior was destroyed, but Admiral Zethkara's flagship was badly damaged. "Impossible," Zethkara whispered. "They're actually hurting us." But the humans weren't done. Something else was happening that the aliens didn't expect. Sergeant Troy Miller had been floating in space for 2 hours. His ship had been destroyed early in the battle, but his spacesuit had kept him alive. He had been drifting toward the alien fleet, playing dead. Now he was close enough to one of their ships to do something crazy. Troy activated his suit's emergency thrusters and landed on the hull of an alien cruiser. He found an airlock and used his plasma cutter to break inside. The aliens inside the ship had never seen a human before. They didn't know what to do when Troy started shooting everything in sight. "Security alert," came announcements in the alien language. "Intruder on deck 7. But Troy wasn't trying to capture the ship. He was looking for their computer systems. Dr. Phillips had given him a small device before the battle. something they had been working on for weeks. Troy found the main computer core and plugged in the device. It was a virus designed specifically for alien technology. The humans had been studying the alien transmissions since first contact, learning how their systems worked. "Come on," Troy whispered as the virus uploaded. "Work." The alien ship systems began to malfunction. Lights flickered, weapons misfired, and the ship's navigation system went crazy. The virus was spreading through the ship's network, and from there to the rest of the alien fleet. "Admiral," General Vextal reported with panic in his voice. "We're losing computer control across the fleet. Something is infecting our systems." Zethkara couldn't believe it. "How is that possible? Our technology is thousands of years ahead of theirs." "The virus is specifically designed for our systems," Vextal replied. "They must have been studying our technology from the moment we arrived." Admiral Kate Sullivan had been waiting for this moment. Her ship, the UE Defiance, had been hiding behind Earth's largest moon. When the alien system started failing, she gave the order. "All hidden ships, this is Sullivan. Execute Phoenix Protocol." Across the solar system, dozens of human ships appeared. They had been hiding in asteroid belts, behind moons, and in the shadows of planets. The aliens had thought they were facing Earth's entire fleet. They were wrong. The humans had been preparing for this day for decades. Ever since they had developed space travel, they had been planning for the possibility of alien invasion. Hidden shipyards, secret weapons, and backup. Fleets had been built in case Earth was ever threatened. "Where did all these ships come from?" Vextal demanded. "Unknown, General. Our sensors didn't detect them." The new human ships were different from the first fleet. They were bigger, better armed, and built specifically for war. Captain Dan Foster led a squadron of heavy cruisers toward the alien formation. "This is Foster to all Phoenix ships. Time to show these aliens what we've really been building." The Phoenix fleet opened fire with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Particle beams, gravity bombs, and electromagnetic pulse weapons hit the alien ships. The humans had spent 50 years developing new ways to fight, and now they were using everything they had learned. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. Commander Nick Torres had survived the destruction of his first ship. Now he was commanding a new vessel, the UES Retribution. This ship was special. It was built using technology the humans had captured from the aliens' own transmissions. "Admiral Zethkara," Nick broadcast on an open channel. "This is Commander Torres. We've been listening to your communications and studying your technology. We know how your shields work, how your weapons function, and how your ships are built." "Impossible," Zethkara replied. "You're too primitive to understand our technology." "That's what you keep saying," Nick replied. "But we've had 6 months to figure it out, and we're fast learners." The Retribution fired a new type of weapon. It was a modified version of the aliens' own technology, turned against them. The beam punched through the alien ship's shields like they weren't there. "Our shields are down," reported Vextal. "How did they do that?" "They reverse-engineered our technology," Zethkara said with growing respect. "In 6 months, they figured out what took us centuries to develop." Dr. Ben Phillips was coordinating the technical aspects of the battle from Earth. His team had been working around the clock since first contact, studying every alien transmission and analyzing every piece of technology they could observe. "Amy, tell our ships to target the alien engines," he said to Lieutenant Carter. "I've found a weakness in their power systems." "How do you know about their engines?" Amy asked. "Because they told us," Ben replied. "Every time they talked to us, their ships were transmitting data about their systems. They didn't think we were smart enough to understand it. The human ships began targeting specific points on the alien vessels. Explosions erupted from the alien engines as the humans hit their weak spots with perfect accuracy. "They know exactly where to hit us," Bextal reported. "It's like they have our blueprints." "Because they do," Zethkara realized. "They've been studying us from the beginning. We underestimated them. The battle was turning. The alien fleet was losing ships, and the remaining vessels were damaged and confused. The humans were using captured alien technology, advanced tactics, and sheer determination to fight a force that should have been impossible to defeat." "Admiral," General Vextal said quietly, "perhaps we should consider retreat." Zethkara looked at the battle displays. Half her fleet was gone or damaged. The humans were still fighting with everything they had. And worst of all, they were learning from every exchange. "No," she said firmly. "We are the Galactic Empire. We do not retreat from primitives." But even as she said it, Admiral Zethkara knew that these humans were unlike any species she had ever encountered. They had turned her own weapons against her, surprised her with hidden fleets, and refused to surrender even when facing certain death. For the first time in her long career, she was beginning to understand why the humans had told them to run. Admiral Zethkara made a decision that went against everything she had been taught. For the first time in her career, she ordered a retreat. "All ships, pull back to the outer system," she commanded. "We need to regroup and call for reinforcements." General Vextal was relieved. "A wise decision, Admiral. We can return with a larger fleet." But as the alien ships began to retreat, something unexpected happened. The humans followed them. Captain Dan Foster was leading the pursuit in his ship, the U's Vengeance. "All ships, stay on them. Don't let them escape." "Sir," his navigation officer said, "they're jumping to hyperspace." "We can't follow them." "Yes, we can," Dan replied with a grin. "Phillips figured out how their jump drives work. We built our own." The human ships activated hyperspace drives that had been constructed in secret over the past few months. They had studied the alien technology so carefully that they could copy it. Now they were using it to hunt their enemies. "Impossible," Zethkara gasped as human ships appeared in hyperspace behind her fleet. "They don't have hyperspace technology." "They do now," Vextal replied grimly. The chase continued through hyperspace. The alien ships were faster, but the humans were persistent. They followed the Imperial fleet across star systems, attacking whenever they got close enough. Dr. Ellen Price was coordinating a different kind of attack from Earth. She had been sending messages to the alien empire's conquered worlds, spreading information about the human resistance. "Amy, are you getting responses from the alien planets?" she asked Lieutenant Carter. "Yes, ma'am, dozens of them. The other species are asking how we're fighting the Empire." Ellen smiled. "Tell them everything. Share our tactics, our strategies, our weapons designs. It's time the galaxy learned how to fight back." The information spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Species that had been conquered by the Empire suddenly had hope. They learned about human tactics, hit-and-run attacks, suicide missions, hidden fleets, and technological adaptation. On the planet Kepler 442b, the Zephyrians had been slaves of the Empire for 300 years. When they received Ellen's transmission, their leader, Counselor Thane, called an emergency meeting. "The humans are winning," he announced to his people. "They're actually defeating the Empire." "How is that possible?" asked an elder. "The Empire is too strong." "Because the humans refuse to give up," Thane replied. "They fight even when they know they might die. They prepare for war even during peace. And they turn the Empire's own weapons against them." Within days, the Zephyrians began their own rebellion. They used human tactics to attack Imperial installations, sabotage supply lines, and disrupt communication networks. The Empire suddenly found themselves fighting on multiple fronts. Back in space, The human pursuit fleet had caught up with the aliens near a gas giant. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the rebuilt UES Defiant, led the attack. "This is Morrison to all ships. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species the Empire has conquered." The battle was fierce. The aliens were desperate, and the humans were determined. But this time, the humans had advantages they hadn't possessed before. They had alien technology, they understood alien tactics, and they had the support of rebellions across the galaxy. "Commander, Lisa Brooks discovered something important during the battle. The aliens had a secret weapon they hadn't used yet." "Jake, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup in their flagship," she reported. "It's some kind of super weapon." Jake looked at the readings. "What kind of weapon?" "Based on the energy signature, it's a star killer. They're planning to destroy our sun." The revelation sent shockwaves through the human fleet. If the aliens destroyed Earth's sun, nothing would survive. Not Earth, not the other planets, not the millions of humans living throughout the solar system. "We have to stop them," Jake said, "even if it costs us everything." Admiral Zethkara was indeed preparing to use the Empire's ultimate weapon. The Star Killer was a device that could make a sun go supernova, destroying everything in the system. It was rarely used because it was so destructive, but she was desperate. "General Vextal, prepare the Star Killer," she ordered. "Admiral, that will destroy the entire system. There will be nothing left to conquer. Then there will be nothing left to rebel," Zethkara replied coldly. "The galaxy will learn what happens to those who resist the Empire." The Star Killer began charging. It would take 30 minutes to reach full power, and then the weapon would fire at Earth's sun. The humans had 30 minutes to stop it, or their entire species would die. Commander Grace Lee volunteered to lead the suicide mission. Her ship, the UES Heroic, was loaded with every nuclear weapon they could find. She would ram the alien flagship and detonate everything at once. "This is Grace Lee to all human forces," she broadcast. "I'm going to stop that weapon. Take care of each other." Grace's ship accelerated toward the alien flagship. The aliens threw everything they had at her, but other human ships covered her approach. Captain Beth Young, who had survived her earlier crash, led a squadron of fighters to clear the path. "Come on, Grace," Beth said over the radio. "We've got your back." The Heroic smashed through the alien defenses. Grace aimed her ship directly at the Star Killer weapon and fired all her missiles. Then she detonated her ship's nuclear reactor. Explosion was enormous. It tore through the alien flagship's hull and destroyed the Star Killer weapon. But it also destroyed the Heroic and everyone aboard. "Grace!" Jake shouted over the radio, but there was no response. Grace Lee and her crew were gone, but they had saved the solar system. The alien fleet was in chaos. Their flagship was crippled, their super weapon was destroyed, and human ships were attacking from all sides. Admiral Zethkara realized that she had lost. "All ships retreat to Imperial space," she ordered. "This battle is over." But Jake Morrison wasn't finished. "This is Morrison to the alien fleet. You came to our system to conquer us. You threatened our families, our homes, our very existence. Did you think we would just let you leave? What do you want?" Zethkara asked. "We want you to remember this day," Jake replied. "We want you to remember that you picked a fight with the wrong species. And we want you to tell the rest of the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity." The alien fleet jumped to hyperspace, retreating to their own territory. But the humans followed them, just as they had promised. The hunters had become the hunted. Dr. Ben Phillips was analyzing the battle data when he made a disturbing discovery. The aliens had been recording everything, including human tactics and technology. They would learn from this defeat and return stronger. "Amy, send a message to all human forces," he said. Tell them the war isn't over. This was just the beginning. Amy looked worried. Do you think they'll come back? I know they will, Ben replied. But next time, we'll be ready. And so will every other species in the galaxy. The first battle between humanity and the Galactic Empire was over. The humans had won, but at a terrible cost. They had lost ships, crews, and heroes like Grace Lee, but they had also gained something more valuable. They had proven that the Empire could be beaten. Across the galaxy, rebellions were starting on dozens of worlds. The human example had shown other species that resistance was possible. The Galactic Empire's age of easy conquest was coming to an end, and somewhere in space, human ships were still chasing the retreating alien fleet, making sure they understood. One simple truth: humanity would never stop fighting for freedom. 6 months after the battle, Admiral Zeth Kara stood before the Imperial Council on the capital world of Dominion Prime. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy, all waiting to hear her report. Honored Council. She began, her voice steady despite the shame she felt. The Third Exploration Fleet has returned from the Sol System. We were unable to complete our mission. Emperor Vexthorian, ruler of the Galactic Empire, leaned forward on his throne. His ancient eyes showed no emotion, but Zeth Kara knew he was angry. Unable to complete your mission? He repeated. You had 12 capital ships and 20,000 warriors. You faced a primitive species with basic technology. How did you fail? Zeth Kara took a deep breath. Your Majesty, the humans are not. Like any species we have encountered, they are not primitive. They are dangerous. Explain, the Emperor commanded. They warned us to run, Zeth Kara said. We thought it was empty bravado. We were wrong. She activated a holographic display showing the battle. The Council watched in silence as human ships rammed into alien vessels, as suicide attacks destroyed Imperial cruisers, and as the humans adapted alien technology in real time. They fight like nothing we have seen, Zeth Kara continued. They do not surrender when faced with superior force. They do not break when shown the fate of other conquered worlds. Instead, they become more determined. General Vextal, who had survived the battle, stepped forward. Your Majesty, they turned our own weapons against us. They learned our technology in months, not centuries. And they have inspired rebellions across the galaxy. The Emperor's expression darkened. Rebellions? 17 systems have declared independence, Vextal reported. They are using human tactics and human weapons. The humans have been sharing their knowledge with every species that will listen. On Earth, President Jack Stevens was addressing the United Nations. The Great Hall was packed with representatives from every nation, all listening to his words. 6 months ago, we faced extinction, he said. An alien empire came to our world and demanded our surrender. They expected us to bow down and accept slavery. Instead, we showed them something they had never seen before: human courage. The assembly erupted in applause. Jack waited for quiet before continuing. Today, I can announce that the Galactic Empire has officially recognized Earth as a sovereign world. They will not return to our system. They will not threaten our people. And they will not expand their empire into human space. The applause was thunderous, but Jack wasn't finished. We have also received communications from 47 different species across the galaxy. They are all fighting for their freedom, inspired by our example. We are no longer alone in the universe, and we are no longer the only ones willing to fight for freedom. Ambassador Carl Watson had been chosen to represent humanity in the first formal negotiations with the Galactic Empire. He sat across from Admiral Zeth Kara in a neutral space station, with representatives from several other species present as observers. Admiral, Carl said calmly, Let me be clear about humanity's position. We want peace, but we will never accept subjugation. Zeth Kara studied the human diplomat. He was much smaller than her, with no natural weapons or armor. Yet she had learned to respect these creatures. "Your species has caused significant damage to the Empire," she replied. "Dozens of worlds are in rebellion. Our expansion has stopped for the first time in millennia." "Good," Carl said simply. "Maybe it's time the galaxy had some freedom." "You do not understand the consequences," Zeth Kara argued. "Without imperial order, there will be chaos. Wars between species, conflicts over resources, breakdown of trade." Carl leaned back in his chair. "Admiral, with respect, you're talking to a species that fought 2 world wars, survived a nuclear age, and still managed to reach the stars. We know about chaos. We also know about freedom. And we choose freedom every time." Dr. Ellen Price was working in her new laboratory on Luna Station. Since the war, she had been coordinating with resistance movements across the galaxy, sharing human technology and tactics with any species willing to fight for independence. "Amy, are you receiving the transmission from the Andorian system?" she asked Lieutenant Carter, who had become her communications specialist. "Yes, ma'am. The Andorians have successfully liberated 3 planets using our guerrilla warfare manual." Ellen smiled. "Send them the technical specifications for our new shield generators, and ask if they need help with anything else." The human approach to galactic relations was unlike anything the universe had seen. Instead of trying to build their own empire, humans were helping other species build their own defenses. They shared technology freely, offered military advice, and supported independence movements. Captain Dan Foster was commanding a new type of mission. His ship, the UES Liberty, was part of the Freedom Fleet, a human force dedicated to protecting newly independent worlds from imperial retaliation. "Captain," his navigation officer reported, "we're receiving a distress call from the Kepler system. Imperial forces are attacking the Zephyrian homeworld." "Set course for Kepler," Dan ordered. "Maximum speed." When the Liberty arrived, they found a small Imperial fleet bombarding Zephyrian cities. The aliens were trying to make an example of the rebels, showing other species what happened to those who defied the Empire. "This is Captain Foster to the Imperial fleet," Dan broadcast. "You have 10 minutes to withdraw from Zephyrian space." The Imperial commander laughed. "One human ship against an entire fleet? You are as foolish as your reputation suggests." "Look around you," Dan replied. Suddenly, ships began appearing throughout the system. Not just human vessels, but ships from dozens of different species. The Zephyrians had allies now, thanks to the human example. "This is Admiral Thane of the Free Zephyrian Navy," came a new voice. "All Imperial forces will withdraw immediately, or face the combined fleets of the Liberation Alliance." The Imperial ships retreated. The age of easy conquest was truly over. Back on Dominion Prime, Emperor Vexthorian was reading reports from across the galaxy. Rebellions were spreading faster than his forces could contain them. Species that had been loyal for centuries were demanding independence. The Empire was fracturing. "Summon Admiral Zeth Kara," he ordered. When she arrived, the Emperor's anger was obvious. "How do we stop this human contagion?" "We cannot," Zeth Kara replied honestly. "We could destroy Earth, but that would only make them martyrs. Other species would fight even harder in their memory." "Then what do you suggest?" Zeth Kara had been thinking about this question for months. "We adapt, Your Majesty. We change how the Empire operates. Instead of conquering worlds, we offer them partnership. Instead of demanding tribute, we provide mutual benefits. We become something the humans might actually work with." The Emperor was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "You are suggesting we abandon 12,000 years of imperial tradition." Yes, Your Majesty. Because the alternative is watching. The Empire collapses as every species learns to fight like humans. Captain Jake Morrison was now Admiral Morrison, commander of Earth's expanded space fleet. He stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching construction of humanity's first starbase outside the solar system. Sir, Amy Carter, now his chief communications officer, reported, "We're receiving a message from Admiral Zethkara. Put her through." The alien admiral appeared on the main screen. She looked older, wearier than during their first encounter. "Admiral Morrison," she said formally, "I bring greetings from Emperor Vexthorian and a proposal for peace." "I'm listening," Jake replied. "The Empire is prepared to offer humanity full recognition as an independent power. We will withdraw from all human claimed systems and establish formal diplomatic relations. And in return, we ask that humanity stop actively supporting rebellions against the Empire. Allow us time to reform our policies and approach to other species." Jake considered the offer. "Admiral, I'll need to discuss this with my government. But I have one question for you." "Yes? Do you still think we're primitive?" Zethkara was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that surprised everyone who heard it. "Admiral Morrison, your species taught the galaxy something we had forgotten. You taught us that strength is not measured by the size of your fleet or the power of your weapons. It is measured by your willingness to fight for what you believe in, no matter the odds. And what do you believe in now, Admiral?" "I believe," Zethkara said slowly, "that perhaps it is time for the galaxy to try something new. Something your species calls freedom." 5 years later, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Empire still existed, but it had transformed into the Galactic Federation, a voluntary association of worlds that worked together for mutual benefit. Humanity had become one of the leading members, not because they had conquered anyone, but because they had shown others how to be free. The human motto had spread across the galaxy: "Freedom is not given, it is taken." Dr. Ben Phillips, now Director of Galactic Relations, was giving a speech at the Federation Assembly on the anniversary of First Contact. 5 years ago, he said, an alien fleet came to Earth and demanded our surrender. We gave them a one-word response: run. Today, I want to explain why we said that. We did not tell them to run because we were stronger. We told them to run because we knew something they did not. We knew that some things